Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Sanan Sai, a gynecologist. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be clearing all your doubts about the experience requirement before you sit for MRCOG Part 3 exam. I'll walk you through the eligibility criteria, how to count your clinical experience, what happens if you had a career gap, and also share my story of waiting an extra year before giving Part 3 exam. Whether you are working in India or UK or overseas, this video is for you. So let's get started. First, let's discuss what does the RCOG say about Part 3 eligibility and experience requirement. You must have passed Part 2 exam. You must have your assessment of training approved. For candidates not in recognized UK specialist training program, that is international or non-UK trainee, under Route B, you must demonstrate at least 4 years of post-registration training in obstetrics and gynecology. This means after completing MBBS, you should have 4 years of clinical experience in obs and gynae that can include your post-graduation, SRship or junior residency in the Department of Obs and Gynae. Also, you must attempt Part 3 exam within 7 years of passing Part 2. Otherwise, you may need to resit for Part 2 exam. One important thing to note for UK trainee under Route A, the rules are slightly different. If you are enrolled in a recognized UK specialist obs and gynae training program at ST3 level or above, you can directly apply under Route A and supporting experience documents may not be required. So in short, make sure your training experience is documented, your AOT is approved, and you're mindful of the time frame after Part 2. Let's convert these requirements into what you should aim for practical purposes. For non-UK trainee under Route B, this generally means minimum 4 years of clinical experience in obs and gynae is required. They don't want old experience, so make sure at least 2 years of your experience are from your recent 4 years. Each experience you submit should be of at least 6 consecutive months on a hospital-based obs and gynae posting. For example, you did your MD or MS in obs and gynae, that's total 3 years. Then you worked as senior resident in obs and gynae. For example, you worked for 1 year, that makes a total of 4 years. If you apply for AOT at this point, it will be approved because you have 4 years of clinical experience. But one important thing to note is among these last 4 years when you are applying, you should spend at least 2 years in obs and gynae just before applying. Then only you will be eligible. And suppose you have only 2 years of experience, then your assessment of training will be rejected. For UK trainee, being in an approved obs and gynae training program at ST3 level or above means you are eligible under Route A without the detailed documentation of each post. Bottom line is, RCOG wants to see not just years on paper but you working actively in obs and gynae department recent enough to show you are prepared for Part 3. Now let me share my personal story because I was in a similar situation. I cleared my Part 2 in my 3rd year of post-graduation. So that means I had only 3 years of experience. So I had to wait for 1 more year to gain total 4 years of experience to give my Part 3 exam. Now let's talk about the career gap, be it for maternity leave, research purpose or any personal reason. How does that affect your experience requirement for MRCOG Part 3 exam? The RCOG's regulation recognize out-of-program breaks in UK specialist training. For international or non-UK trainee, the key issues are your active obs and gynae experience still needs to be total 4 years when you apply. A gap means you might take longer to accumulate these 4 years. Also, the 2 years within the last 4 rule still applies. So if you had a large gap, you must check that in the last 4 years you should have at least 2 years of clinical experience. So my suggested approach if you have a gap is document exactly your dates of posting before the gap, the exact duration of it. After the gap, make sure you complete sufficient obs and gynae posting to meet the recent 2 years criteria. On your assessment of training form, clearly mark your career gap. For example, if you took a maternity leave, clearly mention the dates so that the RCOG sees the timeline. Although RCOG doesn't state a fixed penalty for gaps, the burden is on you to demonstrate your training and experience. So when is the best time to apply for Part 3? Based on official rules, here's what I recommend. Make sure you have had adequate obs and gynae experience as mentioned above. Submit and get your AOT approved before booking the exam. Processing takes 4 weeks time. Ideally, attempt the exam while your clinical experience is fresh and you're confident managing obs-gynae cases independently. Be mindful of the 7-year limit for passing Part 2 for non-UK candidates. You must attempt Part 3 within 7 years, otherwise you may need to retake Part 2. Use this summary checklist. Years of obs-gynae experience, at least 2 years of that experience within the last 4 years, any gap in career documented, AOT application ready, Part 3 booking planned within 7-year window after Part 2, clinical confidence in obs-gynae cases. Answering yes to all means you're in good shape for Part 3 exam. So that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, share it with your colleagues. If you have any questions about your career gaps, how to calculate your experience or how to document the training, drop them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching. Good luck with your MRCOG exam.